how did it all start for you? You were like, I'm going to write a book.
It sounds weird, but most of the time the characters come to you, and or you might have an idea of a particular scene, maybe, or an idea of a person in your head, and it kind of grows out of that through an outline. You hope to follow that outline, but in certain instances, the character is like, nah, we're not doing it that way today. We're gonna go this way, and you just, as you're writing, you're like, let's see where this goes.
Hey everyone, you're watching the Lively Charleston Podcast. Our goal with the show is to interact with and tell the stories of the amazing people, places, and businesses that make Charleston the best city in the world.
If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
And check us out on Instagram and Facebook, where we post content regularly throughout the week. Thanks so much, guys. Hope you enjoy the episode.
I have a very special guest today who I'm very intrigued by. He grew up in upstate New York, the Finger Lake region, which I have some family there. From a very young age, he has had a burning desire to be a police officer and made that dream come true when he joined the Charleston Police Department in 2000. This driven individual not only walked a beat per se, but raised the bar for himself by being selected to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Everybody knows that is NCIS. He has since parlayed his on-the-job adventures and experiences into this current passion and career as an accomplished crime thriller and horror novel author. He has written 7 books and carries a master's degree in forensic science from the University of Florida. Go Gators. But his most valued accomplishments are his 2 young children. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. John Stamp.
Thank you for having me, Scott. This is great.
Absolutely, man. How'd I do? Did I hit timelines okay?
You got it pretty good there.
All right. Well, good, man. Well, welcome back to Chucktown.
I love it. I take every chance I get to come back here. The city has grown by leaps since I've been here, but it's always great just to come back and see it, just to be a part of it.
Well, good deal. Well, Lord knows you have come a long way, right? You come from upstate New York. So tell me about that. How'd you go from upstate New York and ended up in the Lowcountry? Tell me that story really quick.
Upstate New York. Always wanted to be a police officer. I can't really pin why, but you get done with college and you're starting to look at what you're going to do, and I up in upstate, just the way things work, you kind of got to wait for somebody to retire. Everything's pretty solid there. A buddy of mine talked me into going finishing off my bachelor's degree down here, go Charleston Southern University. And when I got done with it, there was either go back to New York or the Charleston Police Department was hiring. So I made that leap and kind of never made it back to upstate New York after that. It's kind of
Okay. What was your very first out of training? What was that like your first day on the job?
The first day, my first shift, I started at midnights. So I jumped in the car with my FTO, and he said, "You're driving. At any point in time, you better know where you are and what's going on. If I ask you across street, you better know exactly where you are, or there will be push-ups involved." So
really?
I started a midnight shift, loved every bit of midnight shift, and just watched that guy teach me as much as I could able to.
That's awesome.
It's a wild 14 weeks just trying to realize you're actually out there, doing it, and just don't screw up. All right.
Oh, I can imagine. Is he still around?
Unfortunately, no, he's not. He was killed in action. 2015. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yep. Unfortunate time, but he taught me pretty much everything, and we're talking way back. This is 2000, so we're 22 years past. But that guy he taught me. He prepared me to be a professional. Is what he did.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. I know CPD. The Charleston Police Department. That's no joke.
It was an outstanding time, an outstanding organization, and the people are what make it. The other officers you work with, the admin staff, the command staff. It was a very important time in my life.
Yeah, I can imagine. So being Charleston Police Department, that first area that you were, I don't know what your beat was, as I aptly named it on my own. But like, what area were you in?
It was Johns Island, James Island, Team 3 at the time. I don't think that holds now. I couldn't tell you how things have changed there. I'm so out of date, but I started out patrol, James Island, Johns Island, and just big areas to learn, lots of different things going on there. But just outstanding from all the random things that happen at night to all the commerce and activity during the day. It never stops. It's the one job where you can completely say, I don't know what I'm going to do when I go to work today. You don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know what's going to come at you.
Yeah, great things. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I know now I want to get to, we'll dive in to, I don't know. I was trying to like almost kind of build it in stages, right? So, how did you end up at the FBI?
My corporal went to the FBI. He went. I'd never really considered it, but he went, and I knew of a couple other people who had gone that federal path. And after a while, you do some joint operations, and you see the other, the agents, what they're doing, the cases they're into, and just randomly after 9/11, at one point, I just looked at it and they were hiring, and I saw they had career paths. The FBI hires in different paths, and they had one open to military and law enforcement. I was like, let's try it. Let's see what happens.
That's awesome.
They don't take many people. I mean, they get, I don't know how many thousands of applications. I was like, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, and I only have television. Sorry, dates kind of go off of, right? You watch the show Quantico or whatever, and they're like, that seems like super intensive training. Did you experience that as well? Can you speak to that?
At the time, it was 17 weeks, and it was the most intense training ever. I mean, from the ground up. I mean, but it also, again, I talk about the people involved.
Right.
We start out with 50 students in the new agents basic class, doctors, Wall Street people, lawyers, accountants, police officers, military. The guy sitting to my right was a doctor of microbiology, crime scene people from North Carolina, guys who just got out of the military. It's you just coalesce and hit it, and it's they don't take it easy on you. It was the best training, downright the best training I've ever had in everything.
Yeah. So I would imagine mental, physical, having to deal with how to break down certain situations, right? Just on the fly.
Just learning the basics of talking to people, learning the basics. They'll go through everything, all the things, communicating, interviewing, all the basic, firearms, defensive tactics, just tactics in general. And it was one of those things you just absorbed and held on, just hoping you can get to that next level. But once you did, it was pretty impressive.
I bet it sounds like everything you're doing is super gratifying.
It did carry a level of accomplishment with it. Every step of the way. I mean, the police academy in Columbia was challenging. I came within one iteration of failing out of the South Carolina Police Academy because I couldn't during the driving course. I couldn't. What was it? The reverse course. You had 3 shots, and at the time, you fail something and you got a 50-50 shot of whether or not you're still a member of the police department. They just drop you and find somebody else. And I failed the first 2, kept hitting cones, and then had to do this. I had 1 shot left to do a reverse course through a driving course, and I was like, "Ooh!" You get done with that one, you're like, "Whew."
I can imagine.
That was a minute. Yeah.
How do they recommend that you do a reverse course? Are you looking over your shoulder? Are you using the mirrors? Are you using both? I'm just curious.
Oh, it holds to this day. It drives my wife crazy because cars all today have dozens of cameras.
Cameras
now, and I'm just backing out of the driveway. I'll be leaning back over the seat and getting up off the driver's seat and looking right out the back window, and there's a camera right there. What are you doing? Doesn't matter. It's ingrained.
Don't trust it.
Not after that coming that close.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I'm even like when I trailer a boat and stuff like that, I'm hanging out the window.
Oh yeah. I don't trust my mirrors. I just don't.
I just don't. I have to see. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. So you were in Charleston, Columbia. So then in Quantico training, and then what was next?
You make it to week 8. If you survive to week 8, you get orders night. So everybody kind of ranks 54 offices at the time where you want to go, and then we all get together, and everybody goes up on stage, and one at a time figures out you get first pick or you get 54th pick.
Okay.
I had family up there, up in upstate New York, and a wife from South Carolina, and we had a nice long discussion of where to rank, and Buffalo was number 1, and it was pretty easy. They call your shot. You getting number 1? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to Buffalo. Oh, how are you so sure? Do you want to go to Buffalo, New York?
Right.
Guy from Charlotte. Do you want to go to Buffalo, New York?
No.
So they sent us up to Buffalo. Nice medium-sized office. I got to work every kind of case you can imagine. The experience was just off the charts as far as the level of investigation we got to be a part of. Is everything from bank robberies to narcotics operations, stuff like that. It was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, Buffalo's up there right with Canada.
It was Canada Light.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you had some kind of like crime spilling over from the border and stuff like that as well, I would imagine.
At the time, I worked mostly organized crime stuff, but we mostly narcotics related, bank robberies. But yeah, it was right there on the border. There's always something going on there.
Are you still a Bills fan?
Yeah, I always caveat that I'm a long-suffering Bills fan, but the last couple of years we've been looking good. I'm still too superstitious to put my Bills gear on for a game. I won't do that. It's still sitting in my closet even after last week's win. Yeah, it's not that I don't trust them. I went through those 4 Super Bowls, so that's a lot of trauma to get over.
That is. I remember those times.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember those times. We have inadvertently, from where I went to school, I have some ties to the Bills.
Oh yeah.
I went to Ole Miss, so we have Chad Kelly because, and then now we currently have Dawson Knox, who caught 2 touchdowns for you guys last week.
That is a favorite tight end of mine.
Yeah. He's awesome. Do you know he was a walk-on?
You look at the Bills. Well, you look at any Buffalo sports team, and they're usually workmen. We don't get the first rounds very much. So usually they come in, they earn their spots, and Buffalo's a whole, upstate New York's the whole way. It's just blue collar hard workers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right, man. Let's dive into your books. Which one? What is the process like? Like how do you choose your characters, and like how did it all start for you? You were like, I'm going to write a book.
It sounds weird, but most of the time the characters come to you, and or you might have an idea of a particular scene, maybe, or an idea of a person in your head, and it kind of grows out of that through an outline. You hope to follow that outline, but in certain instances, the character's like, nah, we're not doing it that way today. We're going to go this way. And you just, as you're writing, you're like, let's see where this goes. Let's happen a bunch in spoilers. My second book, I had the idea of a narcotics unit.
Spoilers, everybody. Spoilers.
Is a CPD narcotics unit being just stumbling into to kind of an international organization working through Charleston. And it was set up that my main protagonist, the lieutenant in charge of this team, kind of having to push through politics and push through bureaucracy and just get the job done. And I had 3 female characters in there who absolutely rewrote the book from scratch. I had a detective female in there who just took over every scene. I had a female assassin as a part of it, and she was so fun to write that I actually wrote the second book mostly for her. I got to working my way towards there's always a giant climax at the end of these books, which happened at Maybank in Maine, out in Johns Island.
Okay,
just took over the entire intersection, and I got to the point where one of my good guys is not quite going to make it. I just don't have any way to save him from a particular situation. So I had to go back through and write a third character just so she can finish off something in this last scene. So I created a rookie police officer, female, and just wove her through. After I was already done with the rest of it, I had to write another 20,000 words just to get her to a certain point. And as I wrote her, I was like, she needs her own book too. It's just
okay.
There's one of those where you have an idea of how this is going to work out, and it just doesn't. I had a completely different book from where I started with this. So every book's kind of an adventure in its own. Just the characters, you got a plan, and as it comes through, you're like, man, this is trailing off. We're going on a tangent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you're here, because I've always wondered what it's like to just start. And that's one thing you said is it's like, what's one thing you would tell somebody who's either starting a business or writing a book or whatever? You just got to start. You got to sit down and just start writing.
Yep. Yeah. Nobody's going to remind you. They're not going to say, how are you doing? They're not going to say, you're doing great. Nobody's telling you anything. It's you and a keyboard. And if you don't do it, nobody's going to, if that book doesn't get written, the only person that knows is you. But yeah, I kind of took it as a personal challenge after I finished grad school. I got done in 2012, and I suddenly had all that research time that was a gap in my day. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to try and write this book I had in my head. So, goal of 500 words a day. If I don't get those 500 words done, nobody knows but me. If that book doesn't get finished, they're going to say, oh, you're a writer. Yeah, what have you written? Nothing yet, because I can't sit down on my computer and do it. So it just comes down to pattern. You just got to get into it.
And discipline.
It's got to be, yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Notice a lot of that. Okay. What was the hardest character to kind of develop? And I got a second question. Was it a hard character to develop because it was a total different personality, or just had a hard time attaching to it, or I don't know.
That's a good one. It's hard getting in the heads of certain things sometimes. So it's like it kind of turns into if you don't have some kind of frame of reference of how this person looks, acts, and talks, they're really hard to write into a scene. And normally that comes in with my bad guys. I mean, so I'm doing everything all backwards, because the bad guys are the ones who lead the story. But usually it's I want to take these two people and see how they work out through this. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. What are they up against? What's their conflict? And that for me is like, oh, I need a bad guy. How do I write this guy? Okay. So it's I think it was Brother's Keeper, my actual first crime novel to be published. I had the idea of two guys.
Brother's Keeper.
Two guys who meet in boot camp for the Marine Corps after getting in a fight. They hate each other at first. Well, after enough punishment together, they put aside their conflict until graduation day, and then on graduation day end up getting in a bar fight and turn into brothers, right? Just best friends. Okay. Work through deployments, decide to become police officers together, because I wanted to see what happens when one of them's in trouble. How far is one guy going to go to save his brother? Relatively common theme. It was a great idea. Who are they going up against? I was like, well, okay, I'm doing this backwards again. So what kind of bad guy do I need? So I decided to, I'm working in a city. Why don't we take somebody completely from the country and have them just running an organization, through the city, an absolute monster of a human being that, put as many people up against him as you want. You're probably going to lose. So I had to get in the mindset. I don't know anything about deep rural farming. I grew up in the country, but I didn't do much farming.
So you had to kind of just dive into that and learn as much as you could. And
who is him? So interesting. Who is this guy? How does he think? Completely opposite from me. I'm much more suburban than country at this point. And though country music is my jam, so
is it?
Yeah, I get.
All right,
I get that out there.
Who's your guy or girl for that matter?
It ebbs and flows. It's I've had my Hank 3 phases. Eric Church phases. It's lately, I'm not calling anybody out, but country music got so poppy, I kind of ditched for a minute, and then I've been coming back. But it's mostly 10-year-old stuff. I guess lately I've gotten into who's that dude that got canceled? Walker or something. I don't remember his name.
Can't remember.
Yeah, but
Chris Stapleton. He's the real
big
deal.
Jam. Yeah.
And even though he's like super popular, I thought he got a kind of a raw deal from the country music CMA people. Morgan Wallen
That's who I was talking
super
about.
awesome.
That Morgan Wallen is who I was talking about. Yeah, I got into him, and Stapleton kind of brought me back. So I've been surfing back into country music as of late. But
Good deal.
I had a run there where I couldn't tell the difference between the pop station and the country station.
Yep, I totally get that for sure.
But old school stuff always hangs. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up with Hank Williams Jr. and Charlie Daniels and those guys like that.
Yep.
All right.
That was my dad's album. Any place we went for more than an hour, I was listening to Charlie Daniels.
Yeah.
That all day long. Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my boys hanging out by the fire.
Yep. Lots of parties in cornfields with Hank Williams Jr.
You
playing.
got that right. Exactly. Well, cool, man. Well, I know you just had a book come out in January. Tell us about that. Blood Red Ivory.
Blood Red Ivory. Yep. It just came out yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it just popped out yesterday. I wrote it over a year and a half ago. It came out of I spent time in 2011 in Africa. I was in Djibouti. There's a naval base there, Camp Lemonnier. Okay. I spent 4 months in Africa, and you spend time there. That continent is just it's the people, between the people, the places, the history. You just fall in love with it. And I'm also a pretty decently, I guess I'm a tree hugger, supposedly.
Okay.
You know, people look at me, they probably wouldn't think tree hugger.
No,
I'm
not getting that from
I'm
you.
a pretty big tree hugger. So the conservation aspect was there. And in reading, I read about a group of wildlife rangers, all female wildlife rangers, mostly coming from violent pasts, and they join this operation, and they go out and they protect species in Zimbabwe and
Rhinos, elephants.
Yep. So I really liked the idea of this group of people, and I wanted to see what happens when you drop somebody off, take an agent, my agent Tyrone Benhoff, take him out, throw him out in the wilderness, no backup, no nothing, and then toss him in with a mix of ivory smugglers trying to harvest, I guess, and then these women, loosely based on a group, trying to oppose them, and then mix a few more bad guys in there, some transnational organized crime bits, and on this guy just all in the middle of it, trying to solve a homicide with no idea of what's going on around him. And I always say, if my characters knew me, they'd be a hit on me. They would come after me.
Yeah, they would not like it.
They would not like me at all. So I just kind of throw them in the mix and see what happens. And so far, people have been pretty happy with how it turned out. I enjoyed it. It was one of those that kind of took its own course a little bit. And when I got done, I was like, "This is fun. I think I'm gonna bring that guy back again."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So your time in was it? Where in Africa? Djibouti. I don't know where that is geographically.
Djibouti is the Horn of Africa. It's kind of just right next to Somalia. So there's Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, Somalia, right on the Gulf of Aden, right on the coast there. And the Gulf of Aden stretches through that Horn of Africa area up through those major channels through the Middle East. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Desert, beautiful desert country. A lot to offer. And the people were great. You get out working in the city, working with the other police officers, you're liaisoning with the people who are involved with the base, and you get to know them. They were just fun. They're just they're laid back culture, fun to be around. Mm-hmm. It was a great experience, and I wanted to write about it. I want to get back there someday, but I wanted to write about it. Yeah.
I have a friend from Cape Town. I think Cape Town, but is that South Africa? Is that anywhere close?
No,
not even close. Okay. I got to get my geography. I got to bone up on that. My social studies teacher kicked my butt.
That's well, when you said that, I was like, well, maybe. It's been a while.
No worries. Yeah. So I read the very first paragraph of Blood Red Ivory, and I was instantly kind of captured by, these are female. This is a female character.
Yep.
And like the situation was instantly tense. And so I, for those of y'all who have never read any of John's books, the write-ups and critiques and things like that are saying basically you feel like you're right there. You're in every explosion, the flick of a switchblade or whatever. I mean, you feel the intensity. You describe it extremely well.
That is the best compliment you can get, because it's Joseph Wambaugh, Elmore Leonard, my heroes growing up, and they just wrote it as raw as they could. And I've always tried to make sure I tried to just keep it right at ground level so these people can feel, when somebody's coming at you and you know that you don't have the momentum. I like to show that aspect of that conflict where it's on and you're the last one to find out, and just how does that feel, And I actually had a buddy of mine when he read Brother's Keeper, he called me and he's like I had to put it down for a minute, because you had a scene in there where I got done reading it, and he was an officer with me on the street. He's like, I had to take a minute because my heart was racing. I was like, dude, you were my hero.
That's a great compliment.
I was actually at dinner Friday night with a friend of mine who read my horror books, and he's like, I was really into it. I had to put it down for about a week because you freaked me out. Like, that's the goal, man. I was like, that's what we do here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to keep that coming. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, so the book just came out. Any other projects on the horizon? Any films? Anything like that?
No, my schedule's open for films now. I'm just kidding.
You hear that, everybody?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
No, I'll keep writing. I've got as the ideas rack up, you're just like, where do I find time to concentrate on this stuff? So I will be following up with another Ty Benhoff, another novel based on Blood Red Ivory. A third horror novel coming out based on the characters in the Shattered Circle and the Inquisitor series. And then after that, at some point, someday, I got to take a shot at doing like a space opera. I've not to criticize anybody, but I've never seen one as well done as the feel of like a Star Wars type, the novelizations. So if I could ever come up with a good idea on that, I got to take a shot at it. Because I did lose my mind once and do a fantasy book. And after you spend 8 hours researching horse terminology, you realize that you should just come back to the modern age.
Yeah, go on back. And this one, Wraith of Sheltermount.
That is Die Hard in a Castle.
Okay, Die Hard in a Castle.
Yeah, when we talked about, you got an idea.
Did you read it around Christmas time?
You can.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm fully into Die Hard as a Christmas movie.
All right,
sure.
okay.
And the often forgot Gremlins, also a Christmas movie. Nobody ever considers Gremlins. Yep. But I was actually just had an idea of the idea of Die Hard. Take some lore, take like Joffrey from Game of Thrones without the psychosis, without that lethal killing, whatever he's got,
right.
And just make him kind of a wimp, just very spoiled, very resting on his laurels because my dad's somebody, and take all of that support and kill off his entire guard force and fill his castle up with mercenaries and see how he makes out. Again, if this guy knew me, he would want me out of the way. So I just started with an idea with that one, and this was probably the most fun to write just because it was everything was completely out of touch with reality. I mean, just figuring out how to describe somebody's clothes in the medieval period, it took probably 3 days of research. And
I can imagine.
Studying horses so you could write a 10-page sequence of them traveling from one place to another. It was ridiculous. Who wants to do that?
Well, where can we find the majority of your books and you? If somebody wants to really dive into you and follow you and be in touch with you, how can we do that?
Easiest is Amazon, but all the major carriers have them too. Everybody reads ebooks these days, so that's the quickest, easiest way to get right to it. I really, if just putting this out there that the artist always wants to know what the thought is. You would think people kind of cringe when they think of reviews. Reviews are what make the writers know they're on point. So it's anytime I get feedback from readers, if they drop me an email, DM me, drop anything, I'm always looking to engage, because you just want to know that your writing is on point. You know, you don't want to be completely off in left field. So it's always fun. That's why I love doing conferences, bringing readers in 3-4 days in a hotel, doing panels, discussions, events, is where you can just really talk to the people who just engage in that genre or whatever, and you can really talk to them and get the feel of how you're doing as an author. So it's fantastic. It's a great gig.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll definitely have you on again.
Oh, I'd love to.
We got to wrap things up, guys. John Stamp, Stamp. Like you said, you can find him on Amazon. I'm sure Instagram, Facebook, things like that.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at John Stamp Writer.
Fantastic.
I keep it simple.
Awesome, man. John, thank you so much for coming in today. We'll do it again.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey y'all, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like or follow or subscribe. Whatever platform you're on, just hit the button to make sure you don't miss any future episodes.
Yep, and please help us grow the channel by sharing it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.